Hello, I'm Manila, and I'm a second year medical sciences student. Today I'm going to be discussing whether the thalidomide tragedy has influenced contemporary abortion laws. I am going to begin by defining the parameters of the debate. The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines ethics as referring broadly to moral principles, often applied to questions of correct behaviour. Within this definition, the Cambridge Dictionary refers to the term ethical company as a company operating in a way that tries not to cause social or environmental harm. Abortion is defined as the deliberate termination of a human pregnancy, most often performed during the first 28 weeks of pregnancy, as per the Oxford Dictionary. And finally, law is defined as a system of rules that a society or government develops in order to deal with crime, business agreements, and social relationships. Shown here is a brief overview of the timeline of abortion history in the UK. Abortion was first made illegal in 1803 by the Ellenborough Act, which stated that abortion after 16 to 20 weeks, otherwise known as the quickening period, was punishable by death penalty. By 1910, the UK had made abortion illegal at every stage in pregnancy. For the purpose of today's discussion, I have included the thalidomide tragedy on my timeline. This occurred in 1962, followed by the British Parliamentary Abortion Act legalising abortions under a set of conditions in 1967. Today we will discuss whether or not this was a direct result of the thalidomide tragedy or just a coincidence. Now let's take a look at thalidomide, a potent teratogen, which, as defined by the Oxford Dictionary, is an agent that causes malfunction of an embryo. The drug was widely used in the late 1950s and early 1960s for the treatment of nausea in pregnant women. Symptoms were dire, including phocomelia and cranial malfunctions, and the drug started to be sold in the UK in 1958 under the name Distovil, where it was sold to treat morning sickness. It is important to note that the drug was advertised as having no adverse side effects. So where did things start to go wrong? In 1962, stories of fetal abnormalities arising from thalidomide began to surface, quickly becoming public knowledge. Media coverage used ambiguous language to emphasise the atrocity, gaining lots of attention. In response to this, Lady Summerskill took the drug to the House of Lords, asking whether a woman taking Distovil is permitted abortion. Unsurprisingly, she was quickly shut down, however the drug was taken off the market as a response. Sherry Finkbrine is just one example of how the press was used to publicise the tragedy and the public's view on abortions, where she was followed to Sweden to undergo the procedure legally. In 1967, the British Parliamentary Abortion Act legalised abortions under 4 categories. We are now posed with the question, did the thalidomide tragedy influence contemporary abortion laws? Arguing for, my first point is the increased support for abortion law reform and thalidomide's influence on public perception. Before the tragedy, abortion was portrayed as immoral. However, the severe birth defects caused by thalidomide highlighted the medical necessity for abortion. An article by Chisholm delves into McInnes's attempt to sway Canadian Parliament to support the legislation of abortion in the House of Commons in 1968. Despite Parliament disregarding her, this was a fundamental step in the right direction. Media coverage also had a key role in shifting the portrayal of abortion by emphasising the plight of families affected. Emotive and ambiguous language was used in sensationalist, melodramatic headlines such as Horror Drug Babies, Sensation in Baby Kill Case, and Armless Baby's Mother on Trial, discussed in an article by Parker, who also continues to discuss the case of Sherry Finkbrine's journey to Sweden, where she underwent a legal abortion and was documented by the press, resulting in 52% of Americans supporting her decision. Whilst no direct law was implemented, we must highlight the importance of the thalidomide tragedy on changing public perception and kickstarting the law reform. Thalidomide's devastating consequences served as a crucial catalyst for change. Contribution of the Kefauver-Harris amendments to the 1938 Food, Drug and Cosmetics Acts strengthened the US FDA control of experimentation on humans and changed the way new drugs are approved and regulated. Whilst removal of the drug from the market and tightening of laws did not impact views on abortion, it was pivotal in a sense that it gained public attention, causing more and more people to join the movement towards advocating for abortion rights. The tragedy serves as a constant reminder of the importance of abortion and the potential consequences of denying women access to safe and legal abortion services. The inclusion of a eugenic clause in Britain's abortion legislation, allowing for abortion if there is a risk of significant physical or mental abnormality to the child, indicates that public perception of the thalidomide babies helped shape the environment whereby this new law became possible. Whilst the thalidomide tragedy did a great job at influencing public perception and changing traditional viewpoints on abortion rights, there is no evidence to suggest that thalidomide had a direct effect on abortion laws, even less so contemporary ones. There were no immediate changes to laws, and when female activists brought the subject up to parliaments, they were shut down instantly. For example, Lady Summerskill and McInnes in both British and Canadian parliaments. Changes that were eventually made, such as the British Parliamentary Abortion Act brought about in 1967, were a result of years of advocacy influenced by a variety of factors. This point is further backed up by the varying legal responses between countries, as spoken about by Shane. Whilst Britain legalised abortion in 1967, the South Africans did not follow until 8 years later, as just one example. It is also important to discuss that the legal battles today surrounding abortion rights, these are being fought by issues not related to thalidomide but more financial and societal issues, indicating that thalidomide has an even less contemporary relevance. My next point, arguing against the question, is the relevance of other influencing factors such as the rubella epidemic. The infectious disease saw a herd of dangerous pregnancies shifting views of abortion where it was deemed necessary in some cases. In an article by Ratfus, Dr. Norman Gregg quoted in 1955 that he would not allow the pregnancy to continue if the circumstances arose in his own family. In addition, the leading medical textbook at the time, Williams Obstetrics, endorsed therapeutic abortion for maternal rubella while the risk of defect was high. Doctors honoured this, leading to a shift in public opinion whereby less and less people viewed abortion as immoral, especially in situations like this. Other influencing factors, including women's rights movements and advances in medical technologies, all led to the legislation of abortion. In summary, the impact of the thalidomide tragedy on contemporary abortion laws is small. Advocates argue that it has influenced public perception and led to regulatory changes, notably in the US and UK. However, opposing views suggest limited direct influence, with legal shifts attributed to various factors such as prolonged advocacy, societal changes, and issues like the rubella epidemic. The ongoing legal battles today, unrelated to thalidomide, emphasize its role as just one factor in the intricate landscape of abortion legislation historically and presently. So finally, I leave you to reflect on what we have just discussed. Do you think that there are any long-term effects of the thalidomide tragedy on the discourse around reproductive rights and women's health today? To what extent do you think that the media had an impact on public perception, and how can the media be used today for advocacy purposes? And finally, do you think that regulations and ethical guidelines today are enough to prevent another tragedy of similar manner to occur, and could more be done to protect pregnant women's rights?